Okay, so today we have Lynn Doherty with us from Omaha, Nebraska, and we were just catching up a little bit before we jumped on. So we already covered this, but how long have you been in real estate?
I got licensed in 2005.
Okay,
So
cool. And how long have you been on board with us in the paper closing program?
slightly over a year.
Okay, so it's been a year, and
Mhm.
what has happened in that year?
So I've closed one referral that I've closed. And then they referred me to someone else. So
Nice,
I paid you guys, and then I got another deal where I didn't have to pay you guys.
even
And
better.
so I closed almost $1 million between those two, which was nice. Um, and then I probably have, I mean, it's hard to say because of some of the pandemic issues from the last couple of years, but I probably have about 10 in my pipeline that I'm still actively working with. I had a couple in my pipeline that fell off due to sickness, death, illness, divorce, whatever. So,
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit before. The ups and downs of real estate of you have something either under contract or working, and then there's just unforeseen circumstances that pop up that can derail stuff, and like just kind of part of the game, I guess. So in previous to working with us, how much experience had you had with online lead generation?
so I've done quite a bit. I've tried some of the great programs, like Ylopo, Commission Zinc, KV Core, um, and then I've worked with some programs that I probably wouldn't work with again.
All right.
Um, where maybe their focus was on foreclosure buyers, so you're getting 300 or 400 leads, but they think that they're buying a $10,000 house and they don't have to
Mhm.
get pre-qualified, and I just don't have time for that.
Right.
um, so I do like your program and how it does at least a little bit of screening, and you're not pulling people in with them thinking that they're getting something for nothing, which is
Right.
nice.
Yes. And I think the experience with some of those other ones, like some of our best clients in our flagship program, like just use different sources. Commissions Inc. has been one that is done by used by top teams all over the country, but it's that understanding of if you get 100 leads and you convert three, four, five of them, you're doing good, and just kind of understanding the
The
numbers, but
numbers.
the value of that pipeline, which I think is this is kind of a prime case. Like if you told me at the beginning of the year, hey, we're only going to have one transaction close, but we're going to get a referral out of that out of the first year, it's okay. You know what I mean? That's nothing to write home and be too excited about, at least. But the exciting part is the pipeline that's getting built and the relationship that we get to have for hopefully years and years to come here.
Well,
So
that, and I actually did some numbers before this.
yeah,
Um, had it not been for the pandemic, because like I said, I had other people that I was helping, people that I was working with. For instance, I had a nurse, and she was one of the first layoffs.
oh
And so had it not been for the pandemic, I would probably have been looking at another foreclosed. So about just shy of 1.2, I think, was what I came up with.
right,
Um, and so some of those people are just now getting back to work full time. And with mortgage qualifications, you have to prove that for a minute. So
right,
those aren't necessarily lost deals, all of them, but they're definitely delayed.
yeah, just not right now. And I think part of the strength that you probably have in being in the business since 2005 is that sometimes real estate is just a delayed gratification situation. And it really is relationships. And if we can help you develop and establish more people to connect with and relationships to establish, then that usually comes around and goes around. But a testament to you as an agent that you're able to get a referral from the one that you did close. What's the average sales price in Omaha, roughly?
I think it's like 199.
Okay. And you did $1 million between the two transactions?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it kind of higher end deals for those two, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. Which what we've typically seen with the ads that we run, because we don't try to go the foreclosure route, or in the past we've even ran like down payment assistance, which is good for getting really, really low cost leads and a lot more leads. But the quality side can kind of change on the end that we care about. So for the ads that we run, we a lot of times see it mirror what the market is. So you'll have whatever percentage of people that buy in the 500,000 plus. That's usually what it shakes out to be. So that's exciting that the first one was one of the higher end deals.
Well, and they're inviting me to their official housewarming because they want me to meet all their friends and family. And when we first started looking at homes together, they were not loyal in the very beginning.
Really?
Oh yeah. No, I actually showed up at one of our showings and the listing agent was there too to meet their client. And ironically enough, we were there to meet the same client. And I just told the listing agent, because I was like, well, this is my client, so-and-so, and we've been working together now for a month and a half, and I'll be showing her the house. And that was that.
That's awesome. So that kind of leads me into the next part. So process wise, so what's your process? I feel like you've done a good job with this in terms of talking with people, meeting with people. So what's kind of your process when a lead comes in? If we set the appointment for you, are you reaching out to them and trying to get face to face, or kind of what's your process?
So normally, and now that we're open back up again, which is nice, I like to meet that person for coffee before we go look at a house. And I actually do a buyer consultation there. And so it's, what are you looking for in a house? What's important to you and your agent? I explain how we work. I explain that I get paid when they get the keys. And I go through closing costs. So our area is a little bit different. Our Douglas and Sarpy County in our area is the only place in the country where we do taxes in arrears. Oh. So this year you're paying last year's taxes, but they're considered current to the day. So it's really different in closing costs. And so I will actually take a piece of paper and document out what that looks like, so that someone, especially someone from another part of the country, is not like, what is this?
Right. So confused.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, we were not able to do, obviously, we couldn't do that. So I tried to do consultations over video. I would say my success rate over video was about 25%. It just wasn't coming across. You can't read the body language the same way. You can't, there's other distractions. It's not as personal.
It's different. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think just educating the buyer and really going through all of what's going to happen and having them be heard. And one of the questions that I ask that I think is the most important question is, there's call, text, and email. Which one is your preferred form of communication? Because I've had clients in the past where, I'm calling them, their preferred is text. I'm, leaving X number of messages and they're like, I'm not hearing from you. And I'm like,
I've called you every day.
So just finding out and documenting how they want to be communicated with and what's important to them.
That's awesome. That is a very good question. Do you do a buyer agency agreement?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do an exclusive. And so actually there was another family. We were looking at homes and their circumstances changed, so they weren't able to purchase, but we were looking at homes and we were looking at a for sale by owner. And I always verify with the for sale by owner that this is what I'm going to be paid if they buy your house. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, they wanted to go back for a second showing. And so I sent him the commission agreement and he refused to sign it. I said, okay. So I took my clients back through the house for the second time and I said, now you are under an exclusive and this particular seller has determined that, he's not going to participate in that. So this is the number that would be added to your closing costs for you to pay the commission. And they declined on the house. And then when the seller followed up with me a couple days later and he was like, what did your buyers think? And I said, they've decided to move on because of the additional cost. And he was like, what? And I'm like, I'm getting my commission. So yeah.
That is Mike would be, if he was on here, he would be singing your praises to how you handled that, because he couldn't preach that more from the rooftops if he could, of like, you got to know what your worth is and hold to it. I think again, coming up this day and age of people just automatically dropping stuff and waiving this and you got to know kind of what your worth is. And we do a lot of work. I say that like I'm out there showing houses or something. You and other agents out there are doing a lot of work and do a lot of work without getting paid. So when you have a fee structure, you kind of have to stick to it. It's really important, maybe more for your own mindset and psyche than anything else.
I've discovered in the past that when I've made the decision to lower my value and to offer to take less, that I'm then treated as less.
100%.
And it's not worth it. It's really not worth it. I've gotten to a point to where I'm willing to fire a buyer. I'm willing to just say, we're not a good fit. So I wish you the best.
That's one things that I've heard consistently from top agents all across the country is that is one of the most liberating moments of your career when you fire someone for the first time.
Yeah, it's empowering. And you don't want it to get to that point, but right. And that's not to say that I won't educate. Like I said, this client wasn't faithful in the very beginning, but when we started looking at homes, we were still in a shutdown. So it didn't really surprise me. And they were of a different nationality. So there was a little bit more education that was required. And now they're like, we would never work with anyone but you. So
right. And this just to toot your horn some more, like there's a lot of agents that I've talked to over the years, and like literally thousands, and a lot of those people aren't in real estate anymore. I think it's like 87% don't survive 5 years. And I think a lot of people don't understand what their job actually entails and what they're supposed to do. And you keep going back to it, and it's be an expert in your area and make sure your clients are educated in the process. And you're a guide to the process. You're not like, you kind of can set the bumpers and they got to go down the lane. And if they're stuck and you give them a little nudge and they start going backwards the other way, sometimes you just got to cut bait. But it's making sure that you are providing expert advice and staying up to date. And when you're in real estate for as long as you've been in real estate, you get to tell them a lot of things that you've seen firsthand, which goes a long way. But it's studying up and staying in the know. So kudos to you for that. But anybody that's listening, like if you've ever struggled with online lead generation or just in the real estate experience at all, I would highly suggest trying to get face-to-face with as many people as possible and being a true expert and giving good advice and information to them so they can make educated decisions.
And I present the exclusive buyer's agency as a standard. So when you go to a doctor's office, they give you HIPAA forms to sign. when you go to a dentist office, they give you insurance forms and documents to fill out. So this is just, part of the process. And if someone is not willing to commit to me, I can't commit to them because that's other clients that I can't help because I'm
Right.
taking someone on. Um, so I'm more than happy to help anyone like learn how to present a buyer's agency in a non-threatening way. Because I think it is about presentation. And I try to present to my client like how they are. So one of the things that I'll say is, I don't believe in being married and dating at the same time. So this solidifies our process together.
Right.
It's a
Right.
commitment.
And it's just it's when you can educate the right way and explain why things are happening the way they are, but doing it in a professional manner. Like a lot of times that goes back to what you were talking about with lowering commission. Like it will change how they treat you, on how much they expect of you, and laying down guidelines. Like Mike used to talk about that all the time, of like, I used to just tell people that I don't answer the phone after this time or this time and not on these days, and it was an expectation I set from the beginning. So they adhered to it. Like they didn't complain about it.
Yeah.
And they didn't bug me as much as some people that are like, that use that as the reason to work with me, is I'll answer the phone whenever you need me. Um, which is an okay thing to say until you don't want to do that anymore. And then you
Yeah.
can kind of set it however you want to set it. It's your business, which is the cool thing. So um, so going forward, and I don't know how much, since you've been on, we've um, obviously been improving things, but I don't know, like with the website and retargeting stuff, have you dug into that at all?
I
Of what we
haven't yet. I use other systems in partnership with you.
Right.
For instance, Follow Up Boss. Um, Follow Up Boss is huge for me because it's an automated like reach out, and they have some super cool emails.
Lynn, this just happened for a reason. So I actually just had a call with him a couple weeks ago to
Mhm.
have to see what we had to do to get an API, because what I want to have happen is that when a lead comes in from our system, it
It would
automatically goes up into your follow up boss.
that would be
And
nice.
then, and then when you leave notes and updates in follow up boss, or when our ISAs are reaching out and they do something, that they talk to each other and update both locations.
Yeah. So, and Follow Up Boss has this really cool non-threatening email. It's called Aliens. And it basically says, "Hey, I've been trying to reach you and I haven't been able to connect." And it gives the person that you're emailing three options, and it says, "You're not interested anymore. You've had things come up, and I've been kidnapped by aliens, send NASA," or whatever it has in there. It's really cute.
Yeah.
And that's one of my top response emails, where people will get that and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, no, I'm so sorry. I've been busy, and we're still looking. We just put it off for 6 months or whatever." So now you guys have changed your system with the new, where you have to, because I was kind of bad about logging all of my activities on your site because I primarily used Follow Up Boss and you guys didn't talk to each other. So although I knew what was going on with the client, it wasn't necessarily reflected. Now you guys have your locked lead system, which is that's a great idea, like a great idea. But I found that I do have to put my notes in both places.
Right. And I think what we're discovering since we rolled that out, like people that have closed deals have been with us for as long as you have, that we know are update, like we can probably loosen that up a little bit, but more so, and we'll talk. Uh, I'll have to probably get you in touch with some of our dev team, because what I'd like to do, what they told me, what all of us told me, was get a handful of your users that are using Follow Up Boss now, and then here's our API documentation or whatever. So just do that manually for 5 people, and then
Yeah.
we'll see how it's working, and then we'll see about like an official partnership. So I needed to find 5 people. So am glad that we jumped on because and
Yeah.
that came up because I
Yeah,
was
no, I love Follow Up Boss. And it's just a way of, I mean, we've all done it, right? I've had a client who said to me, "Oh, I'm going to buy in January. Don't call me in December." Then I call them in December or I call them in January, and guess what? They bought in December from an agent from Zillow. And so that's my fault, right? Because I should have been like, "Hey, I know it's a holiday month and I don't want to bother you, but if there's anything that comes up, please let me show you." Like, I should have been more consistent in that communication because there's an old saying, and hopefully I don't offend anyone with this, but sellers are yellers and buyers are liars. And it's not that they want to lie. It's not,
right.
that's not it. It's just, I've had clients where we start looking at, colonial 2 stories, and we'll be looking at those for 2 or 3 weeks. And I noticed that the client has his hip injury. And I'm like, why don't we look at some ranches? Let's look at some 1 stories. And lo and behold, we buy a 1 story,
Right.
and it's not that they were being dishonest, but they truly didn't know what they didn't know. And it's the same with timing. Like, someone will say to you 6 months, 90% of the time they're going to buy in 3 because they're on there more than they think they are. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, there's this house. It's perfect." And so if you wait for the time that they've told you, you've lost them.
It's always our rule of thumb for follow-up plans has always been whatever they tell you, reach out in half of that time. So if they tell you a year, reach out in 6 months. If they tell you 3 months,
Yeah.
reach out in a month and a half.
Yeah.
Because
And you
that's
will get the occasional person who gets angry and is like, "I told you 3 months." No, I completely understand. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't feel forgotten. I wanted to make sure to proactively take care of your needs.
yes.
If
And
they're going to
so
stay mad after that, it's
right. And this again, pointing out things that you are doing well that allow you to have uh, success, right? Is the sales skills part of that too. Like a lot of people, well, 2 things. One, you said something happened and you were like, well, what I could have done differently. We have a core value called 100-0, which is 100% accountability, zero excuses. And like the description afterwards is ask yourself, what could you have done differently?
Mhm.
Because it's just a better way to live and get results you actually want. But on the other side of your sales skills, like there's some people that would talk themselves out of making that call because of the very small possibility of upsetting someone, but then not having the skills to be like, oh, hey, whoa, 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 whoa. I did not mean to, I was just checking in. I know you said 3 months. In order to be ready 3 months, I wanted to reach out a little bit early, make sure you're getting everything up to date because we don't need to talk, but at least you can be looking at the most up to date information. Like there's a way to spin that to where it's not obtrusive or you being self serving, like you're actually trying to help them. So
Yeah, no, for sure.
very much kudos to just a lot of things that you've been saying. I appreciate it because sometimes it's good for people to hear, especially current clients of ours. Um, Good to hear not just from us say some things, but actually people out there in the trenches with them doing the same thing. So just the process part, I think you're doing a really good job on getting a buyer's agency exclusive, doing a great job on meeting with people, doing a great job on. So um, I am glad we are partners in Omaha.
I am too. You guys have been great to work with. And I'm super excited about the next year because it is like a snowball. And so, I'm going to go to this housewarming, and who knows how many clients I'll pick up there because all their friends are going to be looking around their house and going, "Okay, this is nice." Right.
Right. Uh-huh.
Um, So we'll have that opportunity. And then after the housewarming, I plan on canvassing the neighborhood. It is a new construction neighborhood, but if I knock on 5 to 10 doors and I'm like, "Hey, I know you guys just moved in, so you don't need anything, but here's my card. If you get a tax evaluation that you feel is high, you want my help with that." I put a magnet on back so they can stick it to the fridge. I'm like, "Just stick this to your fridge, call, text, email me. I'll send you new comparables so that we can help work on your taxes. If you know any friends or family, because it's often not the person that you're talking to, it's who do they
Yep.
know. So do you know any friends or family who I could help? Right. And that's not threatening. That's just I want to help. Of course, you're going to have people slam the door in your face and say no. And okay, great. Have a good day. Move
Right.
on. Right.
Yep. Yep. Part of the business. We actually, just with that, we actually had a client that had a conversation with somebody that filled out a form, right? And they weren't at all looking, but they were trying to look at houses for their daughter, and their daughter had a home to sell. So had a great conversation, found that out, was like, okay, cool. How can I get in touch? What do you need? Like, was just trying to give whatever information to that person that was necessary. Immediately after that call, they got on a group text that said, I saw the screenshot that they sent us, but it was ultimately like, hey, whatever her daughter's name was, I found your real estate agent, so you don't have to look anymore. Uh,
Yeah.
meet Roy,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. And I was like
That,
it's amazing when you're actually trying to just help people and find out who else you could genuinely just help in the process.
yeah. And then there's people in the pipeline who we've been working on credit, or we've been waiting for them to go back to work full time. So I'm excited about the next 12 months with your program, because I always say you can never judge a program by the first 6 months, because it oftentimes, it's rare to find that person who's looking today online.
Right.
Like usually by that point they already have their person. So, but you do find the person who's looking 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. And so just building that up and keeping that follow up, and then keep talking to them and keep in front of them, and very like non-threatening, like I'm not calling them and being like, are you ready to buy? I'm calling them and being like, I'd love to chat with you about which homes that you like. What do you think of this one or this one?
Yep. And it's just more so to your approach, just being really good and understanding that it's they tune in to what's in it for me radio, not what's in it for you, the agent radio. Like, and so many people, I don't know if it's just not understanding how lead generation, like we're leads for a lot of companies that we're not ready to do something right now, and so like just genuinely trying to understand what situation they're in and how you can help them, and then delivering on that will lead you down a path of a lot of success. Anything on your end that you're seeing that we could do? Any suggestions or anything that we could do better?
I would like a few more options, and I'm going to look at my notes. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
I would like a few more options, or for you to be able to add to your status.
Okay.
So you have attempting to contact, which is great. I feel like there's a few more that could probably be added in there to kind of clarify things a little bit more, because sometimes I have to put someone in a group and I'm like, they really don't belong here.
They don't belong
And I
here.
keep my notes and follow up boss, so I'm like, okay, I'm good.
I know where it actually should be.
And then same with the disposition. I would just add a little bit more to that.
So I think, well, two things. That is a very good point. And so we use our own dog food, right? So we use our own system. And it's funny because it's so built for real estate that using it for a business like ours, it's in real estate, but like I can't put like address and have it matter or anything like that. So mine is like super custom for our pipeline and stuff. And every time, this is a point of contention with me and Mike, because I'm like, let's make it. And my pipeline would be giant, right? Like every possibility would be a separate stage. And he's like, no, it's got to be as simple as possible. So I think what is
I err with you.
right. Like I'm a psycho data person. Like I just love numbers and I love being able to see exactly where things are. And if it's a scenario that comes up, I'm like, ooh, we need another one. So ours is a little bit different. I like that. Is that a text message?
That is a lead source, actually.
Oh, I love that.
So I have my lead sources on alarm.
That's
It's on
amazing.
a whole different so that it will,
Do
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I might steal that for our app. So our app is getting close to being done. And I might steal that as like one of our options. I'm gonna definitely steal that.
And it's so funny because my kids know that sound. And so they know if they hear that, they're like, they have to disappear and leave me alone for however
Sorry,
long
Mom.
I'm on the phone. Yeah.
Go get it. Get it, Mom.
Yeah. It's so funny.
That is amazing. But that's like that noise that makes your heart drop a little bit when you're driving.
Sorry.
No, that's perfect. So the options, what I think is already in the works, but I will definitely circle back, or Sophia circle back with you on that one, on dispositions and the pipeline stages. Being able to have custom options. So having the standard ones and then having additional ones that people can add. And then revamping it to be like, okay, taking a look at it and be like, these are the standard ones now because everybody is using these now.
And I don't necessarily believe that any lead, well, that's not true. I don't believe that any lead with contact information is forever cold. So I have 2 databases right now. And in one of them, I have almost 5,000. And I think the other one has about 3,000. And some of these are 10 years old,
right.
But they're people who literally, I mean, I just closed a deal last year where that initial lead was 6 years old. And they bought a $400,000 house.
Right.
So, and it only required quarterly follow up. I mean, really, it's not hard.
We started working on a book called $1 Million Database.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I knew how to market for a long time, was just not generating new leads, but just constantly recycling old ones. And we have a campaign that I'm going to send you that you could probably use with some of the older people. We call it Shake the Trees.
Yeah.
But it's something you can do once a quarter, twice a year, ideally. And it just, we did it for the first time with seller leads. And we had the addresses and stuff, and they were all at least 2 years old. And we sent out 1,000 email to 1,000 people, which was way too many. And we got about 100 and some odd responses and 10 listing appointments in the brokerage here in Dallas when we were kind of testing stuff out. And we were like, what is that? Like, and it was just the email was the subject line was their address. So that caught their attention. And then it said, hi, first name. And then if you were thinking about listing your house, how much do you think it would list for? And just people would respond with a bunch of stuff. And then there was a text that said something similar shortly afterwards. And then there was another email the next day. And it just did really, really well. So we have a buyer one and a seller one that I'll send you the copy for. So
yeah, no, that'd be great. I've been doing this long enough that I know I always have to look at what's working now, because how I did real estate when I started and how I do real estate now are not the same. I mean, I'm still the same person. My core values are still the same. My communication style is hopefully better. But, we're constantly learning. And I think being teachable and continuing to learn and continuing to put yourself in situations where, whenever I lose a listing, I will contact the seller and I'll say, why did I lose it? Like, I'm thrilled that you're going with ABC, and, I am a individual contractor. And so for the growth of my business, could you please share with me why you chose that person over me? Right. And sometimes it's something I could never, I've literally had someone choose a guy over me because they're a guy. Well, like, okay.
Okay, can't do anything about that one.
Right. Or maybe they chose an agent who's been doing it for 40 years instead of, mine. So, those are things where I have no takeaways, but maybe someone says to me, they had more data. And that's my fault for not looking at the personality of the person that I was working with and bringing what they needed. Because I don't have the same listing presentation for every person. I sort of, if I know I'm working with an analytical type, I will try to bring paper because they like paper. I don't know why, or electronic version. But just lots of graphs and charts and ridiculous stuff that I don't resonate with, but they do. Sorry.
But it's their analytical brain that needs to know that. I mean, even if it didn't even make sense to them, like, just to know that you are on top of it, again, proving that you are an expert to them is a big deal.
Yeah. So I'm thrilled to have new campaigns, and anything I don't have to build makes me super happy. So
yes,
I can implement, but the building part is like foreign tea to me. So
yeah. Well, and it's a lot of the big giant teams that sell hundreds of houses a year could never ever do it without the operators that are not full-time real estate agents, or even real estate agents in some cases, that just run their system of communication and nurturing and a lot of the phone calls and stuff like that. And it's the only way to get past a certain point without losing your mind or sleep, which is always fun to have sleep in your schedule. So
I actually like the fact that you do have to follow up with the person below to unlock the next person, because there have been times where maybe I'm out showing homes and I'll have 2 leads come in the same day. And it's a great way to make sure that one of those leads isn't lost. That you hit on one of them and you didn't hit the other one.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of froze up there for a second. There we go. We're back. I had a concerned look on my face while I was frozen. Okay, perfect. So, Lynn, it was awesome chatting with you.
It was a pleasure.
I very much when I talk to people, like, there's some people that understand things and get it at a different level, and I think you're one of those people that anywhere you could go, be successful because of your understanding on how real estate works and what it actually takes to get new clients. So I really appreciate it. If someone was considering coming on board and was like, oh, I'm kind of teetering, if they wanted to reach out to you, how could they?
Send me a call, text, email. My cell phone is 402-677-8197. And if anyone wants to role play or work on an exclusive buyer's agency, I'm open to all of that. I needed help at a point and sometimes still do. So
yes. Yeah. And again, like the comment about calling people after the fact to find out why you lost it is just the mindset of someone that's going to be a learner and grower, and it is paramount to people's success, especially when they're new to the industry. If you can take down nuggets from this, there are a lot of good ones, but that mindset might be the biggest one. So I really do appreciate your time.